poprzednim odcinku pokazaliśmy Wam odmiany, które przeszły już wieloletni proces selekcji i znajdują się na ostatnim etapie przed wprowadzeniem na rynek. Ale każda z tych róż miała swój początek. W tym odcinku cofniemy się o kilka lat i pokażemy, jak wygląda sam proces tworzenia nowej odmiany róży. Od pierwszych krzyżowań, przez tysiące siewek i pierwsze selekcje, aż do momentu, gdy hodowca zaczyna dostrzegać w niej potencjał. Zobaczycie etap, którego większość miłośników róż nigdy nie ma okazji oglądać. Pierwsze lata życia przyszłych odmian, z których tylko nieliczne trafią kiedyś do Waszych ogrodów.
I'm Juliette Aynon, so I'm doing the breeding with my colleague at Meillan, and we do breeding for cut roses, garden roses and pot roses. And this is the greenhouse where everything is starting. So that's really the beginning of the story. And that is where we create the babies and the future variety that will be in the garden and in the garden centers.
Yeah, it's the first place and very, very more important.
Yeah, that's really important for us. That's really our treasure. And if we don't have this greenhouse and don't do what we will see later, we will not have anything. So that's really our most important greenhouse here. The plants are here the whole year, and we have plants that are 15 years old. Some just came in last year. Here we have 800 variety.
100.
800.
800.
800 variety. And it's variety that from Meillan, which are sold and you can buy, famous one like Pierre de Ronsard and that stuff.
Yeah.
It's also codes from Meillan, so variety that came out of the breeding but not good enough to go to the market. But they have some interest, so we keep them and make breeding with them to try to have better ones. And also we can use variety from other breeder. So variety from Cordes, Tantau, anybody, we can use, if they are on the market, we can use them. Yeah. And of course they can use ours. So over the 800 variety, we have variety from a lot of breeder and origin. And we have variety to make cross with cut flower, and we have variety to make cross for garden and to make cross for minis. So everything for all program starts here. And every year, when we travel around the world, we have a look at garden center, at producer like you, or in a rose garden, and we see, oh, that's a good variety. I don't have it in my breeding greenhouse. I want to have it, so we make a list, and every year we bring new stuff in here. And the greenhouse is big, but you cannot make it bigger. So we only have the space here. So we need, if we want to bring new variety in, we have to take some out.
Oh, yeah.
So every year, every winter, we make a plan and think, okay, I will stop using that one. I have been using it for years, it doesn't work. I take it out and I bring that new one here. So every year, we change at around 20% of the greenhouse. Yeah. So we have always new stuff to play with.
When you start to create new varieties, you think, I need this, or I think maybe I put this variety with this variety. What is?
It's a very good question, and it's the first thing that you said. It's I want to have this. You really have to start with what you want, what is your goal. And so, for example, the market wants, the agent always tell us, we want a good red hybrid tea with fragrance, good in pot. So that's my goal. That's where I want to go.
This is the first step.
Yeah. So it's very important to start where I want to go. And then you think, how can I go there? So we have a breeding program, for example, especially for red hybrid tea. And then I think, okay, what can I use in my greenhouse to go and have that red hybrid tea that I want? So then we start to think, okay, I should cross that one with that one. But it's really to have that goal. And sometimes you think that will work. I have that really nice hybrid tea, no fragrance. I will cross it with that hybrid tea with fragrance, and I will have what I want. And then you see the seedlings, the plants, and they are just not red and no fragrance. So then after it's the magic of genetic. But you really have to have a goal, and you make the cross thinking about that goal. So.
What's happened when do you have you have some beautiful but old variety and you create new better?
Yes.
What happened with this old on the market? Because the new is better, is smell, is more beautiful.
Yeah, it depends. If there are place for both, because sometimes it can be a different kind of red. So maybe there is a place for the market for the new one and the old one. So maybe it's okay. But sometimes, especially for a niche color like the stripes one, if you already have one in your catalog, to bring another one, usually there is no space for two. So if the new one is better, we slowly replace the old one by the new one. So it's usually the markets who decide, and it comes slowly. And if you introduce both, then people will slowly go to the new one, which is better. So year by year, they will replace. Yeah, we use that because it's really hot and especially dry here.
Yeah.
More than the heat, it's the dryness, the problem in the greenhouse. So we use the fog. So it's a little bit more humid and it's better for the plants. Especially here, we are in the south of France, so it's even hotter and drier. And the sea is really not far away. It's 1 hour drive. So, but there is a mountain between us and the sea. So if you go to the sea, it's hot but humid. And here it's hot but dry because the mountain stops the humid air from the sea. So we don't have the benefit of the sea.
It's so difficult because you must create new varieties for the strange climate, not for one climate.
Yeah.
On the France only.
Yeah, because the first step of selection, we do them here. So variety that we create, they like the weather here. Otherwise, we don't see them and they don't go further. But as we sell variety all over the world, we have to test them in other climates. So after some years of selection here, the best one, we say, okay, they are good here. We need to test them now somewhere else. So we have a testing field in France, in Lyon. So it's in the mountains, so it's like continental climate. A little bit closer than what you may have in Poland. So it's colder in the winter. It's less cold than you, but a little bit colder than here. We also have a test field in Hamburg. So it's really like the Northern Sea and more humid and cold climates. And then also we test them in the USA. And we have a test field in the East Coast and in California. So also very different climates. And then they also go to Japan, Australia, and so then we try to have a lot of different climates. And if we have one variety that is good everywhere, that's really good. Because usually some likes heat, some likes dry. And it's very hard to find a variety which is good everywhere. So that's something really strange that you don't see very often. Yeah. So we call it a vegetative center. For garden roses, it's not so common. You can have some in cut roses, so sometimes it's really niche market, but sometimes you have cut roses in the bouquet that are like that. And what's funny, it's that sometimes, maybe not here, but you can see it's like a bud. So new flowers are coming from the middle. Sometimes usually they don't grow much than that, but sometimes you can have a flower in a flower, and that's really strange. Yeah. Here they are not, of course, not looking nice, but you can see that it's bud and there is a small flower inside it. So it's really something strange, but it's kind of unique in the plant world. So one technique of cultivation is to prune the plant back several times a year. It's flowering, you prune back, flowering, prune back. But here, because of the weather, the plants suffer of being cut back. And it took them a lot of energy to come back and make leaves. And so we use a technique that they use in Kenya for cut flower business. It's called bending. So instead of cutting back, we just bend the stems, like here. We just bend them. And then that means that the plants still have leaves, still can make photosynthesis and have energy. So the plant can make new shoots from the bottoms. Like those new nice shoots, and so the plant get more vigor. So it's a cultivation technique, so the plants don't suffer too much.
So better for the plants.
Yeah, it's better for
Better
the
for the
plants.
plants.
Yeah. So it's something new. We are trying here for the first year, but we will see and we will see.
You always try something new.
Yeah, that's also we are doing.
Interesting.
Yeah, we are making a lot of trials. Always try to improve our cultivation technique, but also with the breeding, we want to have more seeds or that the seed germinate more. Germination is a big issue. It germinates around 30%, so it's very low. And we want to have more seedlings, so we make a lot of tests to improve germination, use some product or just try to have better germination. So we are really a research center too, and make a lot of tests for all kinds.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but that's what's nice too. We are always trying new stuff and having idea or trial, and we never get bored. So that's cool. Yeah. Here it's our collection of garden roses. So it's all the breeding from many years ago or new. That so we make selection, and some go to the market, but some not. And every variety that went past a step, we keep them. Because at one point they were shipped to US or Australia to make tests, but they didn't get to the market, but they had an history and they were shipped. So we keep everything just in case. So here it's like the history of the company. So every variety, some went on the market, some not, but at a certain point there was an interest for it, so we keep them.
Yeah.
So some are here since if you're on the tag, you have the year, and that's breeding a cross from 83. So the plant, the breeding was done in 1983, and so it was a long time ago. But still, we have the variety. It never went to the market, but you never know.
Yeah. We never know.
Yeah, you never know, and so it's only history here and garden stuff from the past.
Yeah.
So this is a very important greenhouse too, because it's all our babies, our garden and miniature babies. So the breeding for those was done last year. So in May 2025, we do the breeding, and now we see the babies for the first time. So it's very excited to be here. And you see they are still very small, tiny babies, but they already have flowers and there is already a lot to see. So this will be the first step of selection. They were planted here in April, so they are not very old, and we can already start to make selection. And with my colleague, we walk here and we put sticks to the variety we think they are interesting. So,
What is the most important for this baby? What must be?
Yeah, it's at that stage, it's the flower. We are really looking at the flower because you cannot see, they are very young and it's inside, so you cannot see the disease or that kind of stuff. So here we really see flowers, if the flower is looking nice, big, the color and the fragrance. Yeah, you can smell better inside than outside. So the first step here inside, it's really the flower. Here in this bed, for example, they are all brother and sister. And it's like for us, you can have 20 children and they will all be different. So it's the same with roses. They are all different.
The same parents, but...
Same parents, but some are yellow, some are pink, some are red. So that's really what makes it magic. So, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Here it's the next step of selection. So inside it was the babies. So they will stay inside for 1 year. And then in the winter, they are 1 year old and we want to see them outside. It's around 25,000 babies. And we will not move every pot outside. So we move the greenhouse. So we have a rolling greenhouse, which is moving every winter. So that means here, last year, it was inside. It was the baby inside. And after 1 year, we just move the greenhouse. So now they are outside. Oh. And now we can make selection outside. And we can see the disease, we can see older plants, so we can see more the shape of the plants and we can see other stuff. So it's the next step of selection. To make selection, it's really important to see the disease. So here we never spray anything in the field or in the greenhouses or whatever, only the babies. We spray them because they are very young and it's our little treasure. It costs a lot of money and work to have them. So we take really good care of them for the first 2 years. So it's the only place where we spray a little bit just to make sure they don't get too much disease and die. And especially they are very high density. So the disease spreads very quickly. So we have to be very careful. And it's the only place where we still spray a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe because when they put on outside, it's very stressed this moment for this.
Yeah, it's very stressful. That's why also the first year is inside. So we still protect them a little bit, but then only after 1 year they are outside and it's a lot of stress for them. So that's also why we spray and save them. So here it's the next step of selection. So first we had the babies together for 1 year inside, 1 year outside, and we put sticks to the one we think they are interesting. So after 2 years of putting sticks, we take them out. So every pot with a stick is kept. All the rest goes to the trash, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the one we kept, we put them in a bigger pot and they are put it here. So here we have plants that are now 3 years old, so they are not baby anymore. So we can see more the adult plant, the size of the plant. We can have the full characteristic. So we walk here every week and make notations. We select the best ones from here. We make selection and the one we choose we think are the best. So it's only 5% of all the greenhouse. So every time we have less and less babies. So from here, it's still the plants from the seed. It was never propagate, but now we will start to propagate. First, we make cuttings for our field, so we will be able to see them in our climate from cuttings. But we also, so the cuttings, we will do them in June. And then in July, we also harvest budwood for our testing field in Lyon, in France, and for Germany. So from those, we will see them next year in different climate already. And then it's only after a few years of observation that we propagate them to other test stations. So first we have only a selection of test stations, and if they go further, then we expand the test station. So it's only after that if they are good enough, they go to the States, they go to Japan, they go to Spain, and they visit the world. Okay, so we spoke about the moving greenhouse, so that's really impressive to see. We do it in December. And it's all done by hand and muscles. You have here the strings, and we attach them to a pole. And we have 4 people. There are 4 poles, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then everybody is like pumping with a machine and doing like that. And so the greenhouse is slowly, very slowly moving. So it's really...
How many hours?
It takes a day.
Oh, it's like the whole day.
Yeah, the whole day. If everything goes fine,
okay. Yeah.
If nothing breaks or whatever, and there is someone inside which is making sure that everything is going all right, because the wheels have to stay on the rail and that it's not moving faster in one side or another. So it's really something unique and impressive to see. Yes. This is where we test our balcony plants, and that's really important for us because more and more people have smaller garden or only live in a flat, so they don't have a whole garden. Yeah. We make a lot of selection to have roses for balconies and small places. So we want to test them. So here we test those mini in balcony. So they come from one greenhouse, and we put them like you would buy it in the garden center. So we have nice pot plants, small, with buds, and we just put them in a balcony like you would do. And then we don't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Like the consumer will also do. So we just let them grow, give them water, and see how they react, and if they are flowering the whole season, and just to test how it will look in your balcony. So
we only look. They must be beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So they were planted beginning of May, and we will keep them until fall. Here is our landscape testing area. Here we plant only variety from cuttings, and we plant 5 plants per variety. It's just to test how they will behave if we use them as landscape. So we pot them, we plant them, and we don't do anything. So we just give them water, And in the past, we prune them once a year in winter, but with mechanical pruning. So really for cities and easy stuff. Easy. And as it's a testing zone, we can see that some variety just didn't like it and they died. And some are really great with mechanical pruning. So it's good information for us. A few years ago, we changed and we say what's even easiest is to not prune at all. So now we make some tests and just don't prune them back at all. So we don't do anything. And some didn't like it, but some after years without pruning, they were looking really great. So it's very nice testing, and we can give advice to landscape people on how to manage the plants easily for them. In the landscape, when you speak to people from the cities or people, a landscaper, they say roses are difficult, and it's not true.
Much work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. You need to have knowledge and you need to be an expert. But that's not true. There are some varieties that are very easy to care of, and you don't need to know, should I cut down this branch, this branch? You don't need to have so much questions. Sometimes it's just easy. You prune it or you don't do anything, and then you have it beautiful. So it's not always complicated. The breeding is to bring new colors, but also to improve the existing one, and that they need less care. That's a way to improve it, and that's really what we want to do. So it's easy for people, even if you don't know how to garden, but you can still have a nice rose. So that's important.
Roses are not difficult.
Yeah, roses are not difficult.
I thank you very much for your time for us, but thank you very much for your work, because it's very important for everybody who loves roses.
Yeah, thank you for coming here and visiting us. And you are also doing a great work, because we need growers like you guys. So we make a good team.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.